2 o'clock. Thank you all for coming to our afternoon session of Class Guide. It's a very historical building and a historical start to the county legislature, which we'll touch on a little bit later on today. So at this point, I'd like to call on the clerk of the legislature to call the roll.
Michael Yearman.
Present.
Herbert Yearman.
Present.
Edward Gilson.
Here.
David Holst has been marked excused. Roy Greenholm has been marked excused. Sean Martino.
Here.
Frank Lombardo.
Here.
Paul House.
Here.
James Weatherup.
Here.
Mary Ellen Chesbrough.
Present.
Linda Lockwood. Here. Richard Klein.
Present.
Patrick Twist.
Here.
Stephen Walpole.
Here.
Nathan Evans.
Here.
James Scanlon.
Here.
Laura McDonough.
Here.
Robert Wilmot.
Here.
Marie Shaw's been marked excused. Tim Stahl.
Here.
Noel Samuelson.
Here.
James Karasik.
Here.
Michael Soloway.
Here.
Mark Greco.
Here.
Frank Castilla.
Wouldn't miss it.
Mr. Chairman, is 22 present, 3 excused, and we have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you please lead us in the invocation?
We come together today representing our communities at the second seat of Oswego County, honored by the faith placed in us and deeply humbled by the challenges ahead. Let us be thankful for the gift of each day in the company of good and decent people and for the chance to be of service and make our communities a better place to live for our constituents, friends, and family. Amen. If everyone could please remain standing for a moment of silence for Jim Bell, husband of our Human Resources Director, Julie Bell. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call on all armed service personnel, past and present, and ex-legislator Bradley Trudell to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Also, like to point out our guest identified ex-legislator Mark Casper will also serve. Thank you. We also will be having a CSI meeting directly following this legislature meeting. I'll remind you again. If anyone would like to sign in to speak as public comments or on resolutions of the day, we do have sign-ups in the back. Having said that, everyone had a chance to see the minutes from our regular July 14th meeting. So, motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving now to introduction of visitors, Legislator Gilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to welcome you and our fellow legislators to the H. Douglas Parkman Courthouse. It's always an honor to host the legislature here. I'd also like to welcome our department heads and the county staff along with the public. And we do have some special guests here as well. From the town government, we have the town supervisor, Kurt Reardon, the councilwoman and deputy supervisor, Don Wilson, Councilman Alan Goodsell, and also today we have with us the Honorable Mayor of Glasgow, Jan Tye.
On behalf of the residents of the Village of Glasgow, I'd like to welcome you again for meeting in our historic courthouse, which is really an anchor to our downtown. And we, as a village, we're looking forward to partnering with you to continue to improve the quality of life of the residents all over the county. And on that note, please be careful of our roads. We're in the middle of improving our infrastructure and replacing some pipes from 1909 and 1933. I'm sure you all realize that when you improve your infrastructure, it gets missing before it gets better. So welcome, thank you.
Legislator Michael Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would you like to reintroduce Myron Kessler,
passed the legislative discipline. My predecessor, welcome to be here today.
Thank you. Legislator Frank Lombardo.
I want to thank Brad Goodell for coming today. That's Marine. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Moving on now to public speakers on resolutions of the day. Mr. Evans.
There are none.
Thank you. Now, under resolution and motion under government reports, I'd like to make a small statement. Today, we're codifying the legislator's priorities with a resolution that ultimately can serve as a guide for not only the direction of Federal American Rescue Plan Act funds, but also lead our efforts to secure the state and federal funding and steer some of the more local spending decisions. Discussions among legislators and various community partners form a long list of potentially positive projects, but a small list of long-lasting, potentially transformative initiatives continually rose to the top of stakeholder priorities. The local business community and economic development in Oswego County supports the public safety and security, and to expand and improve access to high-speed broadband and further develop water and wastewater infrastructure. Among the priorities we've identified is that access to high-speed broadband is perhaps the most critical for our county to remain competitive in the 21st century. As most commercial education and societal interactions are being done online, so the shift to a digital economy was already well underway, but the coronavirus pandemic and the abrupt move to remote work and schooling highlighted the need, especially in more rural areas of our county where access is currently limited. The county legislature is offering to take on the bulk of the financial burden, but is asking municipalities to chip in a small percentage of their own federal funding to ensure access to broadband is available throughout Oswego County, making it a more attractive place for current and future employers and residents. My hope is that in the near future, every Oswego County home and business will have access to reliable and affordable high-speed broadband service. Having said that, now moving to Government Reports GC1 by Legislator Gilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer this resolution and urge its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution acknowledging the desire by the Oswego County Legislature to inspire and support safer, healthier, and more prosperous communities.
Yes, this resolution addresses, along with the county's mission, the direction that we want to emphasize our public monies and our efforts as far as developing broadband, as you mentioned, safe, drinkable water, wastewater systems, concentration on public safety, and particularly supporting our community businesses along with child care systems. Making this statement and this resolution not only emphasizes our direction, but it also will give other organizations that are applying for funding and grants a resource to refer back to help support their programs. I strongly urge its adoption.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Moving now to Resolution GC2 by Legislator Gilson.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I offer this resolution and urge its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification for elections.
This resolution, Mr. Chairman, moves money, $18,000 from supplies and other equipment into automotive rental. It allows us to have the funding available to transport the voting machines for the additional primary that's going to happen this year, along with the general elections. And I urge its adoption.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Moving to Resolution GC3 by Legislator Gilson.
Mr. Mr. Chairman, I offer this resolution and urge its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution increasing petty cash funds in the motor vehicles offices.
This resolution, Mr. Chairman, will move an additional $500 into the Oswego DMV office into their petty cash to have available for the increased volume of business that they're doing at the motor vehicle department.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 abstentions.
Thank you. Resolution GC4, Legislator Wilson.
I offer this resolution, Mr. Chairman, and urge its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution allocating funds made available up to the County of Oswego to the American Rescue Plan Act to certain sub-recipients and beneficiaries.
This resolution addresses an application, particularly one application, to the ARPA funds that we available to the federal government. Through our process of approving applications for funding, this particular application required additional information, and the Public Safety Division asked to meet with representatives from the Fulton Police Department to further understand the reason for this funding. The Public Service Commission met with them. This particular application is for 2 satellite offices in the city of Fulton and 1 on each side of the river to help support law enforcement efforts there and make a presence in the community. They have satisfied the needs of the Public Safety Committee with an additional meeting, and this resolution comes back to government reports for approval. The request from Fulton Police was for $30,000. I urge its adoption.
Thank you. Before we get to discussion, I also believe that they actually put money into the city hall.
Yes, this is a $60,000 project. They originally had asked for $40,000. We agreed to fund it with $30,000. They will be up to $30,000.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Stevens.
Mr. Chairman, fellow legislators, this, like I said, this is the second time this has been up here. Went back down at governments and courts. I asked questions, and even during the first time around, I was presented with, if I asked the city of Fulton or the police department why they're looking for this money. And having spoken with 2 past police officers and 1 past employee of Fulton Police, they have said there's no need for the money. So at the common council meeting, I asked the mayor, why are we needing 2 satellite police stations in the city of Fulton? And where are you going to come up with the extra money when we're hurting in the city of Fulton for money as it is? And her answer was, I gave my department heads the okay to give me a wish list of what they would like, and the extra funds is going to come from their portion of ARPA funds. Now, ARPA funds were put there for a need, not a wish list. And the city of Fulton needs an awful lot of things. It doesn't need a wish list of what they would like to have. It's not what they need. We need an awful lot in the city of Fulton. We need an awful lot in the county of Oswego.
If I might add, sir, that we're not here to discuss the city of Fulton's wish list. We're here to discuss.
I am explaining my vote, sir. Sorry, I did not say that in the beginning. I'm explaining my vote and why I'm voting the way I'm voting and how I came up with the process of my voting instead of just saying no. Okay? Now, I know that they met the criteria to be able to receive the money. That's not the issue. My issue is that it should be for something we need, not something that we want. Thank you very much.
Legislator Gilman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's a very well-defined final rule put out by the federal government with the requirements for ARPA funding. Our process here within the county to to review applications and approve them is quite thorough. I'm very pleased with the amount of time we put into this. And it's our responsibility to make sure that they meet those requirements and not necessarily how they spend the money on their day-to-day operation. But if their application meets the requirements of the federal government, it behooves us to recognize that.
In today's world, I would never want to be in a position that weather-related or a man-made incident, that river became a dividing factor on where the police department was. I think this is proactive thinking. I support it. And again, in today's world, there's so much change, so many things going on. Any city divided by a river has got to have the capability to respond to whatever the incident is. I fully support this, and I hope the legislative body does also.
Thank you. Any other legislators?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to throw my support behind this. The police department has to have, and they're required to have, in order to maintain their accreditation, a backup satellite location should their command go down. And this is providing that. The equipment for these locations. The city already has the location. We're just looking for us to assist them with the equipment. I think it's a good thing. I think it's necessary, and I think in order to be prepared for any natural disaster that Legislator Grassley was talking about, it's necessary. It's the world we live in. We don't know what's going to happen. We have to be prepared. So I do support this resolution.
Thank you. Legislator Steele.
Satellite offices will not be manned 24/7. It says so right in the write-up. So it's not, and I know that they're not supposed to be, and they don't have to be. So presence is only there when they're going by, they stop in to do some paperwork. That's the key thing here. And yes, we need to have a police presence in the community. We need to have people around, but we don't need satellite office. That's all I'm saying. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 21 in favor, 1 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Moving now to the Public Safety Committee, the Legislative Director, PS1.
Chairman, I offer this resolution and recommend its adoption.
Would clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Sheriff's Office, transfer from Insurance Recovery, Treasurer's Office, to Automotive Equipment, Road Division, or Utilities Leasing Center.
This is simply an insurance check coming back to the sheriff's office through the treasurer to go back to the
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution PS2 by Legislator Greco.
Mr. Chairman, I offer this resolution and recommend its adoption.
Would clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Sheriff's Office, transfer from federal aid, other public safety corrections division to repairs, building and property corrections division.
This is in the amount of a little over $219,000 in the corrections department of the sheriff's office to upgrade the facilities.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution PS3 by Legislator Greco.
Chairman, I offer this resolution and recommend its adoption.
Would clerk please read the heading?
Resolution accepting grant from the Oswego County ATV Club, Inc. regarding enhanced ATV safety and enforcement.
Just as the resolution reads, it's in the amount of $1,000 to the sheriff's office to increase enforcement on the insurance safety.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution PS4 by Legislator Greco.
Mr. Chairman, I offer this resolution and recommend its adoption.
Would clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Emergency Management Office, transfer from Insurance Recovery Treasurer's Office to other equipment.
All right, this is an insurance check in the amount of $1,251. Some stuff was stolen out of the emergency management van at the fairgrounds. We should just cover that cost.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution PS5 by legislator Greco.
Chairman, I offer this resolution and recommend its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing the reclassification of one position in the District Attorney's Office.
This is a senior typist that is now a paralegal, and they want to increase her position title.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution PS6 by legislator Greco.
Offer this resolution and recommend its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution accepting grant award from the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services Criminal Justice Discovery Reform Act.
All right, ultimately, this is $553,000 to offset the additional work and labor and hours put into the new discovery process.
Understood. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution PS7 by legislator Greco.
Offer this resolution and recommend its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing the County of Oswego to accept the donation of a fire apparatus and assorted equipment.
This is a fire truck donated by Novellis Company. They got a new fire truck, and they've given us our old one, and we're going to house it out here.
Thank you. Any discussion other than changing the color?
That's possible. We're very thankful for the donation.
We will. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution PS8 by legislator Greco.
I offer this resolution and recommend its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution increasing membership of the Oswego County Cause and Origin Team and name change.
So as most people know, that the county assists in the discovery and determination of a fire throughout the county, and they are increasing from 10 members to 24 and changing the name from Cause and Origin to Fire Investigation.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Moving now to Human Services Committee Resolution S1 by legislator Greco.
Mr. Chairman, fellow legislators, I offer the following resolution for your consideration.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing budget modification, Youth Bureau, additional City of Oswego funds.
So the city of Oswego passed a resolution that added $800 to the youth budget, and they also moved $670 within own city budget. And so therefore, we like money.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution HS2 by legislator Greco.
Mr. Chairman, fellow legislators, I offer this resolution for your consideration.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing budget modification, Department of Social Services, to accept federal funds for the Transportation Incentive Program.
So this is money that comes into the transportation program. And as you'll notice, I got rid of the sunglasses and actually put on the glasses so you know the number. It's $28,213. You like one?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution HS4 by legislator Greco.
Just want to make a note for the record that HS3 was pulled, but we need the number in the sequence. That's why we jumped from 2 to 4. Resolution is appointing members to the Veteran Service Advisory Committee.
Thank you. I trust you all have those numbers in front of
You
you.
should have the list in your hands.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Under Economic Development Planning Committee, EP3 is going to come before us. This resolution is simply a housekeeping measure, naming the county as lead agency for the state's environmental review process. But I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the historic structure we're meeting in today. And although this is, as I said, a simple housekeeping measure, it also declares our intent to apply for the state funding to restore this historic structure, portions of which are more than 200 years old, and preserve it for future generations. The county completed an architectural review of the building, and we're optimistic the state funding will help us to complete necessary renovations and repairs to stabilize and restore the historic structure with limited cost to county taxpayers. Resolution EP1 by Legislature Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring this resolution forward and I urge its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Department of Community Development, Tourism and Planning, capital project number 95.
So this capital project was set up with a certain amount of expected revenue and expense. Due to COVID, some of the money was not ever tapped into or utilized, and thus we would not need to get it reimbursed. We did, as mentioned in our committee meeting, a couple folks had brought up the idea of maybe we could use it somewhere else, and unfortunately the requirements are pretty strict on what it can be used for, so unfortunately we are not going to be using it. So this is just a bit of a housekeeping measure to remove the revenue and expense lines. It's about $67,000.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution EP2 by Legislature Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll bring this resolution forward, but I'm going to need to amend it.
Resolution made and seconded.
Actually, we're going to have to refer this back to committee. Unfortunately, the information that's needed for we were just looking to set a public hearing. We're not quite at the point where we're ready to do that publicly yet. As far as the timeline goes, there's plenty of time. And so to make sure that this is fully sussed out and reviewed clearly and prepared to present to the public, we're going to go ahead and refer this back to committee. Expect to see this again sometime in the not-too-distant future, though. So I'll make a motion to refer to committee.
Second that. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Now, resolution EP3 by Legislature Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll bring this resolution forward and I urge its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution acknowledging the review and consideration of the proposed activities at the H. Douglas Arthur Courthouse and the resultant environmental impact planning.
So as the chairman has mentioned earlier, this is really just a housekeeping resolution. It authorizes us to be the, pretty much for environmental review purposes, to be the lead agency. But I think as you heard, there's excellent reasons why we should be forming this grant. We do hope to be awarded this ultimately.
Thank you. I want to add, Legislator Wilson.
Yes, while this may be a minor resolution acknowledging that there's no environmental impact, I would like to acknowledge that these legislators realize the importance of this building in this community. It's the H. Douglas Parkway Courthouse is a landmark, historic landmark here. It's centered to our community. It houses the town offices. The health department still has a presence here along the motor vehicle, and we have probation here, and it really is core to the community. And again, I'd like to acknowledge the legislators for recognizing this, and hopefully we can go forward to get the apply for the grant to make the necessary repairs.
Thank you. It certainly is a building in the village of Glasscock and town of Richmond should be tried. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Moving now to the Health Committee, Legislator Grassi with HE1.
Mr. Chairman, fellow legislators, I offer the following resolution for your consideration.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing Health Department reclassification of account clerk position to typist.
So this is one of those unusual ones where we have a vacancy and the position is changing to go down a grade. It originally was a typist, and upgraded during COVID. That no longer is needed, so it will save the county money in the future. It's kind of nice to have 3 resolutions to take money and then do one. Save it.
There you go. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Moving to infrastructure, facilities, and technology, Legislator Walpole with IT 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer the following resolution and recommend its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing creation of capital project number C-0322, buildings and grounds roof replacement from capital reserve number 21, building renovations.
It says residence establishing a capital project.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Moving to resolution IT 2 by Legislator Walpole.
Mr. Chairman, I offer the following resolution and recommend its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Department of Solid Waste, gasoline and oil.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is transferring $145,000 from the appropriated solid waste fund to the gas fund.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution IT 3 by Legislator Walpole.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I offer the following resolution and recommend its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution amending Resolution number 188 of 2022 regarding capital project number 0222.
Mr. Chairman, this is simply correcting the breakdown of the expenditure down in the body of the original resolution. Portion of this page.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution IT 4 by Legislator Walpole.
Mr. Chairman, I offer the following resolution and recommend its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution to close capital project number 182, energy consumption and reduction project.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is closing out the capital project, which in essence led us to save approximately 2.7 million kilowatt hour reduction and save the taxpayers approximately $656,000.
Correct, yes. This is a capital project that started back in 2015, closing out today. The aim of the project was to save money and reduce the county's carbon footprint by updating and improving the heating, cooling, and ventilation system along with modernizing and Bond Street and Bridge Street facilities in Oswego. And Legislator Walpole and I are happy to report that at this point we've saved $650,000 and those savings will continue into the future. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution IT 5 by Legislator Walpole.
Offer the following resolution and urge its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing creation of capital project number C-0422, legislative office building, elevator replacement from capital reserve number 21, building renovations.
As we're all aware of, the issues we've had with the elevator in the legislative office building over the past few years, and quite a while. I'm moving forward.
Thank you. Any discussion? All you people who had to take the stairs? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Resolution IT 6 by Legislator Walpole.
Mr. Chairman, offer this resolution, and I would amend this resolution.
Thank you. The amendment?
Yes, the amendment, it needs to be amended as it is correct as well. It needs to be amended to say it reads RFP 22-VG007, and it should be RFP 22-VG009.
Thank you. Second on that? Second. Seconds, multiple seconds. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused on the amendment.
So back to the resolution as amended. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Moving on to Finance and Personnel Committee, Legislator Martinez, E1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer this resolution and urge its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the headline?
Resolution approving the appointment of a deputy highway superintendent in and for the county of Oswego pursuant to New York State Highway Law 102-A.
As it reads, pursuant to New York State law, this just gives our OS1 the ability to appoint his OS to.
Any discussion? Legislator Castillo.
Mr. Chairman and fellow legislators, we have an opportunity right now to look at our budget and save in the neighborhood of $188,000 by not approving this. So if you vote yes on this, it's going to keep our cost of $188,000. If you vote no, you're going to save $188,000.
Legislator Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I stated, pursuant to New York State Highway law, this is what we have to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Castillo. Mr. Chairman, New York State Consolidated Laws Highway 102A. County Highway Superintendent may appoint a deputy county superintendent, as the case may be. Such deputy shall act during his inability to act as superintendent, approve vacation periods with such superintendent or superintendent. County superintendent shall not appoint a deputy prior to 30 days after such inability to act shall occur. The supervisor may take such appointment for the period of such disability. It's not a mandated position. It's a may. And it's only when the superintendent is absent, a prolonged absence. You could save money by waiting. If the superintendent is going to be out, you could appoint somebody at that point in time.
Legislator Wall.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as you're all aware, highway operations, it's pretty important to have a deputy. And a lot of times these things can't wait. You need a deputy. They're not just there every day doing nothing. They have quite a big responsibility throughout the county. There's a lot I can go on and on. I'd like to actually commend our highway superintendent, John Walker, and his choice. The gentleman he chose is a 30-plus year employee. I just like to welcome him aboard. Kelly aboard. As we all know, we always have a deputy highway superintendent. We can talk back and forth about the different positions and this and that. I can tell you, this is
Thank you. Legislator Twist.
Just want to point out that our highway department does a very, very good job with the structure that it currently has. The change it doesn't make any sense to me. I very much support this resolution.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, with its 21 minutes in favor,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. this resolution, and I urge its adoption.
Will the clerk please read the heading?
Resolution authorizing budget modification, Oswego County Clerk's Office transfer funds from motor vehicle sale of equipment into County Clerk's other equipment fund.
Thank you. Our crafty little clerk had some monies left over from a vehicle sale. He's looking to put this in other equipment fund so we can go out and solicit new credit card machines as they are not working properly in the clerk's office as we speak. They're having to manually punch in numbers, the swipes aren't working. This is a very valuable resource for our clerk's office as we all know, a lot of people don't carry cash anymore, it's all on cards.
Thank you. Any discussion? Legislator Wilson.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have personally witnessed the volume at the county clerk's office, particularly in light of the short-sightedness of our governor in relationship to pistol permits and regulations. The volumes just increased tremendously. There's lines out in the hallway. This will help them speed up that process.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, that's 22 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 excused.
Thank you. Before we move to any unfinished business, I'd like to remind you again, we're having the CSI meeting immediately following this legislation. Thank you. Any unfinished business? Legislator City.
Mr. Chairman, 2 months ago, we spoke about the Addis Company. I brought it forward about the smoking problem causing their health issues in and around the Addis plant. That has still not been resolved. Before I came to the meeting today, I got a phone call from a resident saying there's, the taste is in her mouth long after she comes inside. There is still the issue. I know that everybody said it's safe, but is it healthy? And we have not yet heard from a medical doctor to say that it is healthy. We've heard from the DEC through reports that it's not toxic. I said that 2 months ago that it was not toxic. But is it healthy? And as far as I'm concerned, when you have people with asthma, and you have people with respiratory problems and sinuses, it is not healthy for them to breathe this. It has to stop, and it has to stop soon, sir.
Thank you. Any other unfinished business? Any miscellaneous business? Legislator Ramos.
Just like to remind everybody what has been performed for the first time. The Oswego County Fair, 63rd year of its operation. It is August 17th through the 21st. So it's a fantastic event. It's great to see it back. Has lots of activities, especially for our families. Showcases the best of what we have in Oswego County. Saving free bank for everybody's attendance. At least that one day of the fair, not all days. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no scheduled executive session today, so I'm looking for the appropriate motion. Thank you. Is there a public comment period? Legislator Ramos.
Yes, sir. Got it.
So to remind everyone that we're speaking is signed up for the public comment period at 5 minutes. What we're going to have to do is come up here to that podium. We are going to start a timer just in the interest of fairness, all to speak. So at this point, I would invite Shauna Reddick.
I'm not as prepared as I normally am. Family and household responsibilities had to come first. I would not neglect it. The community is like family. We look to you for help, trusting we are one of your top priorities. You have the responsibility to look out for us and protect us. I know you hear us. All of us need your help and protection. It goes to the top and begins with accountability. I am seeing you're trying harder to prevent the recent disasters from happening again. There are still pieces missing in doing so. Accountability is a need and it must take place. It's hypocritical when it's expected from the public but not done by higher officials. If you have the power to make mistakes and mess things up, you have the power to own up to it and fix it. Problems don't get fixed when we don't admit to them or our part we've played. Taking accountability will show you are setting out to accomplish the things you said you would do, remedy the situation and prevention. In DSS's case, trusting coworkers and knowing you can count on each other to get things done is a great trust between each other that's built. Does CPS, DSS count on each other to do things right or to hide, lie, and cover for them? I know many of us cannot count on CPS to take any responsibility and accountability for their flawed actions. We have yet to see this. Can we count on you to hold those responsible? Can we count on the commissioner to hold those caseworkers accountable for not doing their job? Something more than just resigning. When you hold people accountable, it breeds trust. It would show we can trust you to ensure at all costs that you are not letting an Aaron or Jordan situation happen again. In July, I asked for help for the caseworkers. I have every reason to despise CPS. They've lied to tear our family apart, ignored Christ for help, gave up our boys when they refused to protect them, knowingly left our children in abusive homes, refused to remedy the situation, and so much more. No matter what wrongs have been done to us, I've put aside my differences to help others when they need it. I've put aside my emotions to stand here, understanding the bigger picture, continuing to ask and plead for their help. For you to help them. Overloaded, understaffed, and underpaid. Do they deserve that? In an article, someone here said, there are hard questions that county government needs to ask every day. Is it necessary? Is there another way, and can it wait? CPS's needs and children's safety are necessary. There is no other way, and it can't wait. Children's lives are at stake. We need to work together in trust and mutual respect. It can be done, but it will take time. If you are already working on helping them, thank you. If so, I ask just to push as hard as you can. This county has a huge issue with drugs, deeper than anything I've ever known. Some things I've learned are so disturbing. People are grieving the loss of loved ones. People are scared to tell and made to feel helpless. Making that phone call to police, informing their landlords or any proper authority about honest info on drugs, nothing gets done or done properly. Shady behaviors are noticed. Those who want to stay anonymous ask, where do we go for help? Who do we ask for help when it comes to drug dealings or usage? Without pointing fingers at anyone specifically, it would benefit this county to frequently drug test a majority of these government officials and investigate them thoroughly, including various police departments, state police, and Oswego County Sheriff's Department, and yes, even caseworkers. A majority of us will keep going higher if need be. We are tired of the drugs and mysterious deaths with no answers. We need to conquer this situation with the amount of drugs entering this county, and whoever is doing it, no matter what job they hold. Moving here in 04 was great. It was quiet, beautiful nature, the nicest and most welcoming people compared to where I'm from. I learned the darker truth, seeing it firsthand and experiencing it for myself. We want that terrific community, and we want you to grow it so the children of tomorrow have opportunities and stay. They won't if they can't trust police, CPS, or officials. And not many opportunities if abuse is neglected and drugs are rampant. They can't if they're dead, and that's the only way they would stay. It's a serious wake-up call. Remember your oaths and promises. Your words should be your bond. Recognize any of your own words. Your words are just as important as your actions. We need to work together to become more united, to make things run smoothly and do it right. Legislator, government workers, and the public need to work better in how we do things, how we say things, and how we react to things. I invite you to live up to the expectations the community has for you, helping this county to be safe from drug pushers, drug dealers, and abuse in all of its forms, protecting us from anyone doing those things. Our county desperately needs your help. We hope you care enough and make the time and motivation to put your all in helping us. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll call forward Colleen Scott. Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
I know the drill. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here to ask when someone will be held responsible for the death of Galaxy Ellis Cruz. Why should I have to be here asking this? 6 days before Jordan Brooks died, the state issued a report criticizing Oswego County for failing to adequately investigate reports of abuse of a 16-month-old girl who died. Galaxy's death, November 9th, 2020, has been ruled a homicide. No one still has been charged with her death. Oswego County Department of Social Services had received multiple reports of abuse committed by multiple family members of Galaxy. Do you think the public will just forget? If it was a baby in one of the legislature's family or friends, would you still let it be ignored? What's wrong with this county government? What's wrong with our sheriff? No excuses are acceptable. What's going on with D.A. Greg Oates? Sheriff Hilton, how many other homicides have you ignored? They say to go up the ladder if nothing is done. I guess I need to go up the step and find out who the next person is to contact regarding Hilton and Oates. Why would the murder of a child be ignored? Also, what's happening with the DSS study? Stacey Alford continues to refuse to speak regarding the matter. There's no excuse for the mishandling of the child's death.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to call Stephanie Stone forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the past few months, I've been speaking about things that have happened in the past and looking for justice for children in our community. Today, I wanted to bring something to light that is going on in current day where a child and their family deserves justice. On Monday, decisions will be made in the best interest of a child by a judge and a law guardian who are involved in a CPS case. During the hearings, no information was brought into these hearings that were presented to defend the respondent. All that was presented was what CPS had submitted, which were false documents and half-truths. The closing statements and the decisions were all based upon these documents. Now on Monday, they will be making a decision for this child where they know nothing about one of the people involved, and all they have is negative information that has been fed to them on the other. I personally know this other person has an extensive criminal background. Their home has been raided by the feds, and to this day continues to deal illegal drugs on our streets. I have expressed my concerns, which I feel have fallen on deaf ears. To my knowledge, no one has looked into this other person to find out exactly what type of person they actually are. So like the CPS case, they have half the information and will make life-changing decisions for this child. And I'll remind you, in family court, there is no jury. All that has a say is the judge. The judge will make the decision based upon recommendations from the law guardian, who not only knows the false facts that CPS presented, but has also had unfavorable dealings with this person through a company they own. This judge, who held custody hearings without notifying all parties who have custody of the child, and who found this person guilty in another case, will make a final decision in this case. How is justice going to be served for this child knowing all these facts? I'm scared of this outcome. I lose sleep every night because the people who are deciding the fate of this innocent child do not know and don't care to know the full picture. They have an opinion of one person and not the other. How can this be fair? What can I do to stop this? How can I get these proceedings out from underneath this judge and have a new law guardian appointed? They have formed their opinions, which will influence their decisions going forward. This can't be legal. But again, in family court, only the judge has a voice. Like in the CPS case, I know the decision on what is going to happen on Monday has already been decided by the judge and the court-appointed attorneys. We will go through the motions of a trial, but none of it will matter. They have already made up their minds on how the outcome, and once this is done, you cannot undo it. It is impossible for anybody to undo what a judge has done in family court. So today, I'm not asking for an investigation into the corruption within our community for things that have happened in the past. Today, I'm asking for something to be done before bad decisions are made for this child. I am trying to protect a child within our community and asking for help. Thank you.